So this conversation was all about Golden Age cuisine? Look, I don't care if the pizza was round, square, or anything else. Go talk to a culinarian. Oh, forgot I turned the camera on. Hello, class. I wanted to keep our discussion moving about other warlocks for the time being. We'll get to the other guardian classes soon enough, but for now, allow me to gloat at our superiority. Well, too late now. In today's subject, I would like you to recount the stories of Pujari, perhaps one of the truly philosophical minds of our time. Though he has passed by uncertain means, Pujari focused more on the ideas of everything, rather than the physicality of it all. For those a bit confused what I mean by this, think of philosophers like Confucius, or one similar to him. There are plenty of other philosophers over history, but Confucius had a habit of writing as well as drawing his thoughts. Granted, Confucius was also a bit too stuck-up to allow for any opening of imperfection, while Pujari was a bit more lax. Hell, here's the vinegar tasting from centuries ago. Pick one of these three philosophers within, and you'll have a better idea of Pujari right off the bat. Still, I would be remiss if I did not share the definition of Pujari, being a Hindu priest. That might also give you some idea of where this warlock stands with his notions of life, and how we are meant to fix the mess that humanity has, as a whole, may be responsible for. Then again, like any philosopher, it's difficult to explain what I mean without talking in more generalities. The darkness has been questioned by many. What is it? What caused the collapse? What caused our lives to spiral out of control? Outlined within this collection of theories, Pujari's take was, as you might expect, one more grounded in the metaphysical.
The Pujari position describes the darkness as a force with both physical and moral presence, an actualization of evil. Pujari art depicts the darkness as a great storm, or as a change in conduct, a corruption that emerged from within and poisoned the Golden Age.
With many records pointing back to organizations like Ishtar Academy and Clovis Bray being major corporations that existed within the Golden Age, I can't help but wonder if this wasn't what Pujari meant to a certain degree, especially with what we've uncovered from the transmission incident. That really did open a lot of doors into the past, didn't it? I find myself referencing it perhaps too much. Anyway, as we dig further, I hope the Pujari's case is a bit clearer to you now. Basically, he felt more than he did much else, expressing those feelings with written and non-written word. His paintings have stirred thoughts of many, one being the lost hunter, Eris Morn. While attempting to combine fragments of hive construction to create a weapon, Pujari's records of the Black Garden were referenced as a point to understand the basis of its energy cell.
Osiris speaks of darkness as undisciplined chaos that knows only destruction. Toland speaks of a bargain. Pujari writes that the Black Garden grows in both directions. How to reconcile these teachings with the fragments? Eris Morn.
Further, Pujari had commented on losing himself within the Black Garden, the heart of the Vex growth that plagued this system until a few years back. In these visions, he discusses the possible origins of the Vex on Mercury, the ideas of the Traveler as seen by the Vex, and perhaps an idea of our future. These are a few excerpts from Pujari that are worth listening to.
The Traveler moved across the face of the Iron World. It opened the earth and stitched shut the sky. It made life possible. In these things there is always symmetry. Do you understand? This is not the beginning, but it is the reason. At the end of the path grew a flower in the shape of a ghost. I reached out to pluck it and it cut me with a thorn. I bled, and the blood was light. The ghost said to me, "You are a dead thing, made by a dead power in the shape of the dead. All you will ever do is kill. You do not belong here. This is a place of life." "The Traveler is life," I said. "You are a creature of darkness. You seek to deceive me." But I looked behind me, down the long slope where the blossoms tumbled in the warm wind, and the great trees wept sap like blood or wine, and I felt doubt.
From that day on, Pujari claimed to have carried the cut to his grave, caused by a vision within a darker world than his own. Perhaps this ghost visage that he had seen growing from the rose as it did was more an example of what the Vex see us as than much else. Or perhaps it shows how lost Pujari really was. Not that I could believe that. His parables speak louder than many other thinkers of our time, able to cut through into another segment of truth or thought that we didn't have before. Ever the thinker, Pujari challenged our position, perhaps not as heavily or brutally as Ulantan, Toland, and Osiris have, but in a manner that gave us enough to think on within our realm, that didn't make us feel so disjoined from our established thinking. It was a bit easier to take the parables and art he had as being something from old Earth history, something that challenged a moray or a constant without completely disavowing it. Might have been why he was a bit more respected within the walls. His thoughts on the Praxic Order of Warlocks is perhaps one of the more well-known in the city today.
The Parable of the Venging Fire, as interpreted by Pujari. A young warlock travels to her mentor, seeking the truth of the Praxic Fire. A wildfire rages in a valley nearby. Her mentor points to the billowing smoke, saying, "This is the Praxic Fire. Go and learn what you can." And the student returns to her teacher, saying, "Master, the fire does not ask. The fire acts. That is the truth." Her mentor laughs, and the flames leave the sky from the valley and surround the teacher, and the wind blows the smoke away. The old warlock, now wreathed in flame with outstretched wings, says, "The heart of the Praxic Fire is the warlock. Without the warlock, fire does not ask or act. Be the fire, or be smoke on the wind." The cowering student stands, her palms closing into fists.
Pujari often wrote on the ideas of fire and life. Perhaps it should come as no surprise that towards his end, he wanted to impart on those rising within the Guardian ranks the courage they may have needed, reminding them what their armor, marks, and camaraderie needed to be in order to end the threat of the darkness, or at least combat it. Personally, I am disheartened to not see more of his artistic talent within the city walls, his interpretation of events and ideas that we have had over the past several years. I can't help as I wonder with many whom have come before us and left gaping holes within our leadership and progressive thinkers, just how much more he could have offered to us. Still, I'll leave my thoughts on Pujari here. His talent is one that is hard to follow, but perhaps the same is said of the philosophers that came before, like Lao Tzu, Sun Tzu, Plato, Socrates. The world is full of thinkers. Perhaps it's the audience that listens that matters more than the thinker's position, or, like much else in life, it's the cycle that matters most. I have much to contemplate myself. I'll send out a message once the next lesson is ready. Don't forget to subscribe to the Ghost feed before you go. I'm told the bell is also needed so you can receive communications. One day, perhaps the tower will make sense of making programs work for a change around here. Until next class, however, take care, students.